and it means assembly, covenant community, congregation. So most of the time when the translators of the Septuagint use these two words for kahal and for adah, kahal was used more for the actual bringing of people together, like the action of assembling, and synagogue was used more for the people of the gathering, is normally how the translators used it. How is that important? I'll explain it to you. We have to understand how the Jews use the words to understand what they're trying to communicate. They're not trying to communicate some new thing that God was doing. What they're trying to do is find kind of equivalent Greek words that would help them express what God had always been doing, what God had done in Israel. Israel was the adah. Israel was the kahal. Israel was the gathering. Israel was the people. And so they're trying to use Greek words to fit that. And the two Greek words they chose were ekklesia and synagogue. Ekklesia was used more about the actual assembling, and synagogue was the people that were assembled. That's largely how the Septuagint uses those words. If we understand that, it helps us completely understand how ekklesia is used and synagogue, because both of those words have meaning. They have weight. Synagogue was used by the Greek community, and it wasn't necessarily a religious gathering. That's what it's become today, almost universally. If you say synagogue, it's a gathering of Jewish people. It's a Jewish place of worship. That wasn't necessarily the only way it was used. It became that way with usage. But originally in the first century, it didn't have to mean a Jewish gathering, just a gathering. So let's look at how the apostolic writings then use this word. And I like the way our TLV translates it. TLV does a pretty good job. If you don't know, I'm a little partial to the Tree of Life version. Happen to have a little bit to do with that translation. And it was done by Messianic Jews and largely done very well in collaboration and true to the text. James 2 verse 2 in your TLV says, if a man with a gold ring and fine clothes comes into your church, and a poor man also, oh, wait a minute, that's not your translation. That's my translation. TLV says, if a man with a gold ring and fine clothes comes into your synagogue. Remember, this is Yeshua's brother James. Yaakov would be a better translation. He says, if a rich man comes into your synagogue, and he's speaking to New Testament Christians. If a rich man comes into your synagogue, some of your translations will say church. Most of you maybe are TLV people, and so you've been liberated from that, and I think Complete Jewish Bible renders it synagogue or something like that. But if you've got another translation, likely it says a rich man comes into your church. That's a bad translation, because the Hebrew or the Greek there is actually synagogue. Synagogue. It's interesting when the translators chose to translate different words into our modern English, they had a hard time translating that into synagogue. They most of the time translated into church because synagogue didn't fit their model. Because remember, the model was God replaced the Jewish people and the synagogue and the temple with the Gentiles and the church. And so when the translators came across synagogue, that sounds way too Jewish. So they made a huge leap and translated as church. Synagogue is not a church. Sorry, not a good translation. But it fit their replacement theology. So if you've got a translation that says church, just put a little line through it and write synagogue above it. That's a better translation.